So you're buying or selling a home and you hear the term escrow. What does it really mean? Hi, I'm David Sciplin, Caldwell banker. This is Melissa Valera from Cornerstone Title. And today we're going to talk about escrows. So could you tell us how long you've been in the business?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years, cool. So it kind of shows that you know what you're doing.
I do. I've been through a lot of transactions in 20 years.
Very cool. So when buyers or sellers hear that term escrow, what does it mean for them?
So first and foremost, most people look at escrow companies as a neutral party to the transaction between the buyer and the seller, who holds the money for the transaction and disperses funds accordingly. But ultimately, we're a title insurance company. Mm-hmm. In Northern California, you have title and escrow that are together. So we are insuring a property against any liens or claims that may arise once you take ownership. So aside from the financial part of the transaction, we are going to ensure that your buyer purchases a home with no issues down the road. And if there are any issues, whether they be old liens or encumbrances, the title company will then pay for any claims that need to be taken care of.
Oh, very cool. So a lot of times when we're writing purchase contracts, we're checking a box or not checking a box. What does the buyer need to make sure that they do once we submit that contract, once they're in contract? And we send you the purchase contract. What do they need to make sure that they do?
Well, starting from the beginning, they ultimately need to get their deposit into escrow. That, for us, is the main thing we need to start. So depending on the contract, whether it's 1 day or 3 days, we are reaching out to the buyer almost immediately from receiving that contract, introducing ourselves, and facilitating how they're going to get their money to us, whether that be a cashier's check or a wire, depending on what the contract says. That's what's happening up front, and also ensuring that they understand real estate fraud and being very secure in that they're speaking to us and only us, and they know our information.
Right. So the first thing I usually do is when I submit a contract, I call you guys and let you know we're in contract. And then once we get the information, I make sure that they call you directly to make sure that the numbers are correct. Because there's been many horror stories.
Yes.
Recently and in the past about deposits being sent in, and escrow saying we never got it, and it's $100,000, $200,000, $400,000 deposit, and their money's gone.
Yes. I will say that in this technology-driven world, a lot of people are busy. And a lot of people have a lot going on, and sometimes they do not take the time to reach out, know who exactly they're talking to, and have our business information. That's my phone number and my email address, so that when we send them requests, they are only talking to us and not, a fraudster somewhere else who's hacked into their email. So I think that's the biggest thing that as a buyer, you have to be aware of, is that you need to take your time, make sure you're talking to the right person, make sure you're sending your money in to the right people, you're verifying account information, that you really do your due diligence on that end before you deposit any money.
Yes, so it's very important to make sure you pick up the phone and call.
Yes.
Very important. So what tips could you give people in today's market about escrows? Or do you have any little stories that you'd like to present?
I think the biggest tip I could say for a transaction is communication. Okay. I see where sometimes, like I said, people get busy, or the agent's not communicating what the steps are, what the escrow steps are, to get to that recording day. And the buyers should be talking to their lender, understanding their process, what they need to sign, what they need to provide, so there's no delays in their underwriting process of a loan, but also that they're talking with their agent, they're available to sign I can't tell you how many people go on vacation or had travel plans, so that you're coordinating all of that up front and having those conversations with escrow and everyone in the transaction so that there are no delays.
So if I'm closing escrow and I know something wrong on my paperwork, do I call you or do I call the lender to find out what's going on?
That's a good question. It depends what the error is. So definitely name. We tend to see names spelled wrong. And sometimes it can just be from the beginning when the lender enters it and it keeps flowing to the final loan documents. Sometimes I've seen it written wrong on a contract. And again, in this digital world, people are just docu-signing and hitting sign and they're not noticing their name spelled wrong. So anytime something doesn't look correct, I would say contact all parties. You know, you have contact for your agent, the lender, and escrow, and say, hey, I noticed this, who can help me with this? Because depending on what the issue is, it might be everyone who can help, and it might just be one of those parties.
Okay. So thank you very much for stopping by.
Of course.
And providing a little bit of information for the clientele out there. So once you watch this, please subscribe to my channel. We're just getting started here, and the more likes we have and subscriptions, the more we can do this. If you have any questions about real estate, give me a call, text me, email me, all that good stuff. Thanks.
Thank you.